With the back and forth of President Trump's tariffs, consumers are feeling some whiplash, wondering what this means for their finances and investments.
Yeah, for some insight on that, we want to turn to On Your Side's Christine Lazar. Christine.
Yeah, Rudabeh and Jamie, consumers fearing price hikes due to tariffs may be stocking up on everything from food to electronics or eyeing their investments, wondering if they should buy or sell. So what is the right financial move? And I'm joined now by author and financial expert Nicole Lapin, who always has some great advice for us. Thank you so much for joining us. So first off, you know, we've seen so much back and forth. Now we've seen a pause of these tariffs. What do you make of all this?
It's a relief rally, right? So it reminds me of putting your hand on the stove and then quickly taking it off. You still have a burn on your hand. We're still seeing market trouble. So we've seen somewhat of a relief from the down 10% that we had in 2 consecutive days last week. If you look at the Dow right now, we're down about 4%, which is giving back some of the rally from yesterday. We had a huge relief rally. So now it's, you know, the whiplash that you were talking about is really real. And so my suggestion is for anyone who's a long-term investor, put your blinders on, continue to dollar cost average, try not to panic sell. I know this is really emotional, but don't mourn paper losses and don't rejoice paper gains. The most important day is the day you sell. And so if you haven't yet, this is all just noise.
Okay, so now what about when it comes to those like day-to-day purchases? People living paycheck to paycheck might be watching this saying, do I buy that iPhone? Do I buy that car? What advice do you give to consumers when it comes to how they should be spending in this type of market?
Well, just like you wouldn't panic sell, don't panic buy either. So we have a pause for 90 days on the tariffs. They're still coming, and China tariffs are much higher now. So if you were going to buy an iPhone there, you know, go ahead and buy it if you have the money for it and you're planning on buying, especially items that are imported. You can go ahead and do that, but I wouldn't say panic buy just because of what's going on.
And for those living paycheck to paycheck who might have just, you know, smaller investments, smaller 401ks, smaller Roth IRAs, what do you tell them when, you know, they're not going to see as much of an increase and decrease, but they have a lot more to lose because they are living paycheck to paycheck?
Yeah, of course. Anyone who has a 401k is an investor. So this affects everybody. This is not just Wall Street. This is definitely Main Street and people who are living paycheck to paycheck. If you're nearing retirement, you would want to go into a more conservative asset allocation. So more bonds, although what's happening in the bond market is really fascinating. That's another subject. But, you know, I think that as you're nearing the time when you need the money, you're going to want to shift away from riskier assets and more into fixed income.
So President Trump urged Americans to be cool and buy. What do you think of that advice?
You know, it's really hard to make sense of what the tweet is going to be of the day. And markets love uncertainty. Markets hate uncertainty. We love certainty. Businesses love certainty. So it's hard to follow, you know, what's going on if a coach changes the play mid-game. And so that's why I think that if you are a long-term investor, it's really important to zoom out. Over time, we have never not recovered from a single dip or recession in U.S. history. And this has happened about 4 times before. And after that, we've seen huge relief rallies. So, you know, the adage is buy low, sell high. The problem is we don't know where the low is and we don't know where the high is. So it's hard to catch a falling knife, so to speak. But, you know, stick to the plan, try not to panic, and, you know, stay the course.
So would your advice basically be do what you were always planning on doing? Don't change your consumer behavior because of this?
Definitely not. I mean, you haven't looked at your portfolio in the last few days.
I don't want to see it.
And, you know, over time, if you zoom out of these charts that we see, yes, this is a huge dip for the day. We're down, you know, almost 2,000 points. But if you zoom out to what we've done over time, the market has yielded about 10% over time. So long periods of time, you have to look at this. And this is the cost of doing business. This is the cost of being in the market. This is the price of admission. You know, there is going to be a roller coaster. And so strap in.
All right. Strap in and stay positive. Thank you so much, Nicole. And Nicole is the author behind several best-selling books on finance. Her latest is The Money School. It's out now. She also hosts the Money Rehab podcast on Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we always appreciate your advice. Jamie and Rudabeh, back to you.